What's amazing to me is these students are willing to eat the things that they grow. But whenever you talk to their parents, they're like, wait, what? They ate collard greens? They ate anything that was green? Like they don't understand. But when the students are taking ownership in what they're growing, they're all in. They're willing to eat it. They're willing to cook it. So it's a really fun experience to see that, just the light bulb go off like, oh, I have the power to grow these things as well.
Welcome to the Voices United in Education podcast. Each week, we showcase the teachers, administrators, and community members who go the extra mile to contribute to the success of every student in Escambia County. You'll meet the real people behind the titles and learn about the amazing resources to support every student's success. We tend to think of big cities as the places where the best opportunities lie for jobs, education, and unlocking potential in young people. But what if I told you that there's a program in rural Escambia County that not only gives middle schoolers scholarship opportunities, real-world education, and a sense of belonging, but also contributes to the world's greatest need? I was surprised too. The need is food, and the program is the agricultural program at Beulah Middle School. My next guest is passionate about the hands-on learning that ag programs offer, and today she's going to share how her program is helping kids belong and contribute to the success of our community. Ag teacher at Beulah Middle School, uniting rural and city kids, Tate High graduate Leanne Jenkins. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and what a wonderful intro.
Well, it's so exciting to meet so many people that in the county that are, from a young age wanted to go into teaching, and you're one of them. Mm-hmm. But most of them that I've met, they hop around in, different departments of teaching. You, however, my dear, went straight to ag. So what inspired you to do that?
Well, like you said, a lot of people know that they want to be a teacher. And from a very young age, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I used to love going to a friend's house and helping to grade her mom's papers. And I just thought it was the greatest career choice. But when I was a sophomore in high school at Tate High School, I was placed into an ag class. I didn't sign up for the agricultural class. I just happened there. But I fell in love with the opportunities to just get my hands dirty. We had a garden. We had cattle there at the school. I got really involved in the intercurricular club that is part of ag education. That's the FFA. And I knew that was where I wanted to be for my teaching career. So I went straight into ag education in college and started teaching as soon as I graduated college.
Wow. Was there a specific moment in the program in high school that made you just sealed the deal for you?
Just probably through the FFA contest that I was participating in. My ag teacher, Mr. Kelly, we're still close because he poured so much into my life and he believed in me. And as a young person, that's what you need. And that's what I found in that program. And so I guess what sealed the deal was just becoming myself through his instruction and through what was provided there and just finding my place.
That's incredible. I love it when there's always a teacher, that's behind things too, because it seems like it's such a underappreciated source of inspiration.
That's true.
Even celebrities and musicians, they can always cite an educator in their life that made the biggest difference. So.
I can cite so many.
Well, you didn't hesitate. You're like, Mr. Kelly, he was the guy. And the program there at Beulah Middle School is so popular that in its second year, the school had to hire an assistant for it. And then in the third year, they had to add another teacher. Mm-hmm. What makes it so popular with the kids that it's growing so quickly?
They love the hands-on experience. Like we obviously have the traditional classroom that we spend a lot of time in. But one of my goals as a teacher is to get them outside every day for at least 20 minutes. So we try to budget enough time at the end of the class period for hands-on learning. And we call it that. We call it hands-on learning. And we enter the land lab, which is behind my classroom. We have a little farm. And the kids, most days they get to choose what they want to do with their hands-on learning time. Sometimes it's more structured, like we'll all be in the greenhouse together, or we'll all be in the goat pen, maybe working on their hooves that day. But some days they just get to, choose where they're going to be. If they're going to be, with the chickens or filling up the water troughs or whatever it is that really just gets them excited about the ag class.
This is getting me excited. I'm not even there.
It truly is so much fun.
I grew up in Nebraska, and I split my time between two different small towns. And Nebraska, most of it is based on some agricultural something. But in both of the small towns that I grew up in, there were no built-in ag programs in the school. And so I have all the small town vibes with none of the knowledge, which I'm pretty sure just makes me a redneck.
No.
And that's okay. I mean, it is what it is. But what I'm trying to say is I have no idea what an ag program looks like for a student. So can you paint a picture of what the program looks like?
Absolutely. So in a lot of my students were just like me in the sense that in 10th grade, I just ended up in this class and it wasn't one that I actually requested. And so I do have those students come in and you'll have them ask, what's the point of this? Why am I in here? And I like to remind them, I'm like, do you eat? Are you wearing clothes? Did you create those things? Because the thing that we all have in common is we are all reliant on the agricultural industry. And one of the things that I like to teach the most in my class is, we need to be thankful for the things that we have and thankful for the farmers that provide those things. Each day in class, we say a list of virtues. That's something that I stole from an amazing teacher at Beulah Middle School, Mr. O'Rear. His class, they say virtues every day. Well, we say the virtues every day, but we finish the virtues with, and be thankful for a farmer. And that's how we start our day. Because if anything, when they leave my program or leave the program at Beulah Middle School, I want them to have an appreciation for the things that we have, for food, fiber, our natural resources. The way that's set up is we dig deep into the plant industry, the animal industry, and just where, our natural resources come from. We do that in the classroom setting. I would say probably about 30 minutes. We'll do a little bit, of bookwork, or I'll show them videos of real live farming situations. We do identification of different, like swine breeds and cattle breeds. And then we'll take whatever we're learning and we'll try to go outside and just learn further using our hands. And I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. 6th and 7th grade are their semester course, so it's a half a year. But our 8th graders are with us for the entire year. They have the opportunity in 8th grade to take an industry certification test. Yeah.
In 8th grade?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
It is really neat. And it's really neat to see them work so hard to accomplish something so big, because it's not an easy test. I think the pass rate nationwide, I don't know what it is, but I think it's around the 60 or 70% pass rate.
Oh, wow.
And so to pass the test is a big deal. And
what's the certification?
The certification is agricultural systems.
Okay.
And then once they go into high school, if they follow into an ag program, there's additional certifications that they can earn. And one of the things I tell the students is a certification on your resume is a great thing because it shows your employer or future employer that you're teachable, and that you work hard, and that you're willing to put in the hours. And so it's a really great thing, and it's great for them to start at a young age to see how valuable those things can be. So yeah, that's a little bit of how our program is set up.
I can really see how the certification especially would instill a sense of pride and accomplishment when you're launching into high school. That would be really important. I want to dig into something you said earlier. You said you dive deep into kind of where our food comes from. What does that look like inside a classroom?
Inside a classroom. Okay, so I tell the students that, everybody relies on agriculture, whether it's like the food, fiber, natural resources. Those are things that we need every day. So in the classroom, we break it down on what that looks like, what American agriculture looks like, what...
Is it the history or, because there's definitely different, like the traditional way of farming versus the more industrial way of farming, for example. And now we have regenerative farming, which is, I'm not really not that familiar with it, but I understand it's kind of a blend of industrial and traditional. Am I totally off?
No, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes. And we talk a lot about the history of farming. So within the first couple of weeks of class, we learn about big agricultural inventions and how they changed our lives. And then we go from there. And we talk about how, by the end of, by 2025, there's going to be 8.5 billion people in the world. And so our population is growing at a rapid rate. And so in order for us to meet the needs of the ever-growing population, agriculture has to be changing. And, new inventions. In our classroom, in my classroom alone, we have 3 different hydroponic systems to where we can, grow a lot. We grow lettuce because it's so cute. The kids love to walk up and just grab a piece of lettuce and eat it. They think it's so cool. But
where else would a kid think it's super cool to grab lettuce and eat it?
Right, exactly. And so it's neat for them to be able to see how much we can grow in such a little area and how we can grow things in a non-traditional way. And so yes, we are talking about the ever-changing agricultural industry and how it has to change in order to meet, the growing population.
What's the feedback that you get from kids? Because when I'm thinking about my garden disaster, when it was almost 10 years ago, I tried to do an organic garden in my backyard. And that process gave me a lot of respect for where my food comes from. And it gave me respect for organic produce, especially because it requires so much ancestral knowledge that I did not have. And so instead of ancestral knowledge, it was internet knowledge. And it didn't go great. I'm not going to lie. I think I had some collards. And of all the things that I planted, I had 1 pot of collards. That was it for the whole season because it didn't go great. So it changed my perspective on appreciating my food. It changed how I don't waste food, know. So I'm curious, what kinds of comments and reactions do the kids give you once they learn about, the where the food comes from and the supply chain and how all that works?
Right. They're overwhelmed by it.
Really?
Yes. And they're excited by it. And to actually create something with your own hands. Actually, yesterday, one of my students was asking me, Miss Jenkins, when are we going to grow seeds in the bags? Because that was something that she did last year in our class. And what we did is we grew the seeds in the bags on the window. But then after they started growing, we transplanted them into the greenhouse, into pots. And then some of them we transplanted from the pots into our raised garden beds. And so to actually see the process and not just, I go to the grocery store to buy my food, but actually the work that goes into it, they love it. They love it. And another thing is we've made collard greens in class before with collards that we grew at school. And what's amazing to me is these students are willing to eat the things that they grow. But whenever you talk to their parents, they're like, wait, what? They ate collard greens? They ate anything that was green? They don't understand. But when the students are taking ownership in what they're growing, they're all in. They're willing to eat it. They're willing to cook it. So it's a really fun experience to see that, just the light bulb go off like, oh, I have the power to grow these things as well.
Wow. What a light bulb for parents too, because, as a parent, you might say, well, everyone has a certain palate, right? So you might say my kid is a picky eater and they're just not going to eat, fill in the blank with whatever vegetable usually, right?
Yes.
And so it's interesting. That's an interesting accidental experiment.
Exactly.
What about scholarship opportunities? Are there any ways that these certifications or programs lead to free college?
Absolutely, especially here in Florida. I don't know if you're familiar with the Bright Future Scholarship, but it's something that is offered, statewide for students. And for students that are in agriculture, if you complete an agricultural program, you could qualify for the 75% Bright Futures Scholarship. So that's what I did. Through my ag program at Tate, I was able to qualify for 75% of my tuition being paid for. But then also through the FFA, there were a lot of scholarships available. And so I was able to go to school debt-free because of, just the opportunities that were presented through FFA and then following up with the scholarships. And so, yeah, there's a ton of opportunities there for sure.
How does the FFA intertwine with the program at the school?
I'm so glad you asked. So the FFA takes what we are learning in the classroom and it takes it a step further. And so basically, ag education is a 3-circle model. You have classroom instruction, you have the FFA, and then you have something called an SAE, which is a supervised agricultural experience. And that's encouraging students to, on their own, take what they're learning in the classroom and apply it at home or in a job or like an internship. But the FFA, it just offers a lot of different contests. They're called career development events. And it takes the knowledge that you're learning in the classroom and it applies it deeper. And you use that in like a competitive sense. And there's also leadership development events. And that really, it brings out the public speaking skills in students. I was talking to a student yesterday and I said, what's your favorite thing that you've gotten out of ag education and FFA? And he said, my confidence. Like, I didn't know that I could be a public speaker. And it reminded me of a story. Last summer, a parent was able to travel with us to the state FFA convention that was in Orlando. And our team was competing in the parliamentary procedure finals, which meant they were top 4 in the state, which is a huge deal. And they competed in front of a couple hundred people. And as they exited the room, I looked over and this mom is just weeping. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? And she said, I just had no idea my child had that in him. And she said, I'm just so proud. And so I think, the FFA, I just get so excited when I talk about it. It brings out the best in the kids and it encourages them to really, dig deep into a subject that they otherwise wouldn't have. I have a little student that wants to be a forester when she grows up. Before being in an ag education class or before being in the forestry career development event, she had no idea that was even a thing.
Oh, wow.
But now that she is committed, that's what she wants to do when she gets older. And so last year we had a group of boys that competed in the aquaculture career development event. And they won first in the state.
In the whole state?
In the whole state.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was their first year competing in this. But they jumped into the information. They thought it was super interesting. And now they are just hooked. We were able to go to a catfish farm and talk to the farmer about what it looks like to be a farmer in that industry. And so it's just real life experiences and they get to see these career opportunities that they otherwise wouldn't see.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, you think about, like I said in the intro, about where opportunities are. And definitely, growing up in a small town myself, it was, you'll need to go to Omaha, the next biggest town. Well, it's actually the biggest town in Nebraska, but that's neither here nor there. But the point is, you think like you have to leave somewhere to even discover the opportunities. And what I found so interesting about learning about the ag program at Beulah Middle is that those opportunities are laid out for the kids in that community because it is a more rural community.
Yeah. I'd like to tell you about like the first couple years at Beulah.
Tell me.
If you don't mind. So I was thinking about it. And when we first started the program, there was a greenhouse, an amazing greenhouse the county put in for us. But the kids had these dreams of, having a real working farm at the school. And so they started doing fundraisers. We got a grant through Ascend, the community impact grant, and they were able to design a goat pasture. And so we have a big pasture. It has 2 paddocks in it. And
wait, what's a paddock?
It's just a broken up area for the animals to be, so we can rotate between the 2 areas.
So is it a fenced in?
It is
like a pen.
It's a fenced in pen that's divided into 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so that way,
like a little goat apartment.
Exactly. Right.
Got it.
And speaking of goat apartments, the students have built, like in each of the fields, they have their own little goat like shed. We like to call it the, what did a student call it? She called it the Taj Mahal.
Oh my gosh.
That's what she called it because it was so fancy. So we have one of those in each field that they built. We also have 4 different chicken coops that we call them our chicken tractors because we move them once a week so that they're fertilizing the grass. And they built all of those. We built one each year. I said, let's not build anymore because we don't need any more chickens, but because we're up to about 20 and then we have 3 ducks. But our goats, we started with 2. Now we have 1 Nigerian and we have 4 Nubian breeding goats.
I love the Nigerian ones.
I know. Yes, they're so cute.
And they're like, sometimes they cuddle. They're so cute.
Well, our Nigerian is very naughty. So she's my favorite because she's so naughty. But our Nubians, we breed them every spring. Up until this year, we had bred 1 per year. But the first year that we bred, her name was Hollywood. And I love this story. So we moved a couple days before her due date. We moved her to the back porch of the ag program. And she was in a little fenced area. And we said that we were just going to get her used to her birthing suite is what we called it. And last period, one day I was teaching and a little boy had gone out to the back porch because we had baby ducks that we had just incubated and they were in a little pen out back. Well, he came back in and he said, Miss Jenkins, that goat out there is having a baby. And I said, oh, no, she's not having a baby. We have her out there to get familiar with the area. We still have a couple of days to go. And he said, well, I really feel like I saw something coming out of her, Miss Jenkins. So, of course, I run out there and sure enough, there's a hoof coming out of her. And I'm like, okay, it's go time, So I go back in and I tell my students, I said, okay, we're going to have to go out here, but nobody's allowed to say a word. Well, word got around in the 3 classes or the 2 classes that are close to my class, they all 3 came out. So we had like over 60 students on the back porch. You could not hear a sound. They were so respectful, so quiet. I didn't know middle schoolers could be so quiet, but they were so excited to witness this. They watched as that mama delivered triplets.
What?
And it was the most amazing. It will go down in history as one of the most amazing experiences of my life.
Oh my gosh.
And another thing that was so neat about the situation was one of my neighboring teachers, she's real techie. I'm not, but she pulled out her iPad and she started up a Google Meet. And the whole school had the opportunity to jump in and watch as well. And so it's just really neat how at our school, everybody is invested in the ag program because they see the value in it. And so it was definitely one of my favorite moments as an ag teacher.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That is so amazing. So I can't believe we're almost to the end of our time, but I'd love for you to share what you feel like the benefit is for students who stay on the ag path. Like, what are their career options? What does that look like for them as members of our society? And then what does it look like for students who don't go the ag path, but they take the ag program? What benefits do they take away that follow them into adult life?
Right. Well, first of all, I would say the leadership that we teach within our curriculum, but then also within the FFA, they learn skills that they can use forever. Communication skills, collaboration skills. They're just invaluable, the things that they learn within the class. And then, as far as careers, I think the statistic is 10.6% of all careers in America are actually related to agriculture.
Really?
So 1 in every 10 of us are going to go into an agricultural field in some way. Now,
That's true, because like engineering, right? As so many things are engineering: structural, civil, mechanical, environmental, all those things. And that would definitely be involved with agriculture.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, you think about a nutritionist, nutritional.
A nutritionist?
Yes, I totally just botched that up. You ever have that word that you're like,
every day.
And, just things that you don't think of that are, involved in the agricultural industry. And also science, scientists, and just having to come up with new methods and GMOs and ways to grow our food better and more efficiently to, again, meet that ever-growing population. And then just to be an educated consumer, because all of us are consumers. And so to know where it is that your food is coming from. We have a group of students that they're leaving soon to go to the state meats judging contest. It's in Tampa. And they're going with Miss Davis. She's the other ag teacher at the school. And one thing that I love about that contest is, yes, they're learning knowledge to win a contest, but they're learning how to pick out a good cut of meat. They're learning what are the different cuts of meat and where this meat comes from. What type of animal does it come from? And so whether they go into the meat industry or not, whether they're a meat scientist or not, they're always going to be, a consumer. And so it's practical information that they will be able to carry with them for a lifetime.
Wow. I never even thought about that. But you're right. I could see where the ag program teaches kids really how to just live on this planet,
Right.
because I think about survival. I think about hurricanes, and I think about when the grocery store closes, right? Mm-hmm. And then that's when you feel very vulnerable and you realize, oh, wow, I'm really dependent on these supply chains and these systems. Mm-hmm. And I could really see how the power of, or the empowerment of agriculture makes that shift from feeling vulnerable to feeling calm and confident, because you know how to like exist in this world.
Absolutely. Yes.
And for the kids that go on into agriculture, that field, do they typically become farmers? I feel like that's the obvious, career path. Or are there other, direct paths that they would take that are in line with agriculture?
Well, so less than 2% of our population are actually farmers. And so that's it's a hard career to get into, especially because a lot of the farms, like the smaller farms, are turning into these large, corporate farms. But I would say a lot of our students are going like specialty fields. So for instance, like the little girl who wants to be a forester. There's another student that was in our program at Tate High School. She's currently she's at Mississippi State, and she's studying to be a forester. She is almost done, and she's about to enter into that field. I mentioned meat science. There's another girl that's at Mississippi State, and she's studying the meat science industry, and she wants to go into meat science. And there's, I know at West Florida, they touch a lot in their ag program, they touch a lot on biotechnology, and they dig deep into that. And so some students that are in our ag programs in Escambia County are going into biotechnology. And so it's so broad. It's hard to even say because there's so many different options within that field.
Yeah, I didn't realize that there were so many different paths. You just think farmer.
Right.
And that's it. Exactly. But you're right. There's so many. So if a parent is listening to this and thinks that the ag program at Beulah Middle is something that their kid might benefit from or be interested in, what do they do?
So Beulah Middle is not at capacity, which means that we do have openings within our school. So if you're not districted for Beulah Middle, you can school choice into Beulah to be a part of the ag program. And there's actually a lot of students who do that. And then once your student is at Beulah Middle School, you just talk to the guidance counselor and try to get them plugged into an ag class.
Is there a certain time that they need to do that, or just at any point, just have a conversation with the counselor?
So probably Yeah, probably at any point. You also could send an email to the counselors and reach out to them and, say that you're interested. But like the open house and registration, like those, during those times would be a good opportunity to talk to them as well. And just to say too, Ernest Ward has an agricultural program. It's a local middle school. So does Ransom. And then we have some great high school programs as well. And so parents do have options to try to get their students plugged in to, great programs because, like Escambia County says, we're all united for the success of our students. And so there's, no matter where they end up, there's teachers there that are really passionate about what they're teaching.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for sharing this today. This was great.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe and share. Voices United in Education is a production of Escambia County Public Schools.